Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. Deontay Wilder, the WBC champion, has pulled the coward card on Tyson Fury in a bid to get the rematch he desperately desires. Fury and Wilder fought to a controversial draw on December 1st, 2018, and Wilder since then has been talking rematch and only rematch. He hasn't been talking Anthony Joshua's name, and he's now saying Dominic Breazeale is not next unless Fury a coward. And talk of a Breazeale fight, it bubbled up after Boxing Scene spoke to Wilder, who said he'd knock out Breazeale in 3 rounds. And some people, from what I can tell from my video on that, were taking that as a sign that he was going to fight Breazeale, and Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, they were off the table. And there was certainly some strong sentiment in the comment section about that. Here's a little bit here. So Wilder getting ready to give away $30 million and a chance for the undisputed title and fighting Joshua to earn $3 million against Breazeale instead, for no titles or any respect from boxing fans around the globe. So one face, one name, no? Question mark, question mark. And there was a number of other comments in here. A lot of people thought that Wilder would massacre Breazeale, and that's the general sentiment. Certainly some debate about whether it would be within 3 rounds as Wilder claimed. This guy, Mike Melton, I'm not sure how many rounds it would take, but I'm sure as a person can be, a match for Wilder would knock Breazeale out. He's too hittable and plodding. And that's my thoughts on it as well, really. I think that Breazeale probably takes a battering for half a dozen rounds and is out of there. And to the people who somehow, get so sensitive because Anthony Joshua knocked Dominic Breazeale out in 7 rounds, and I was predicting that Deontay Wilder would knock Breazeale out in fewer rounds. Get a grip. Anthony Joshua fought Breazeale a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago. He's improved markedly since then. He's a more dominant champion now, whereas Breazeale seems to, be more plodding and hittable than he ever has been. The defense is just nowhere to be seen anymore. I think he's going to take a battering, but just people have got to get over themselves. These Wilder and, Joshua comparisons, guys who they may fight, leftovers, all that sort of stuff, doing triangle theories. Some people just get so het up about it all and sensitive that their guy might look worse than the other guy because they lost or beat the other guy in a quicker time. Just get over it. It's triangle theory stuff. It doesn't always, work out here. But there was actually some sentiment that was sort of saying that Dominic Breazeale could potentially beat Deontay Wilder. There was certainly a bit of that. But this stuff about Tyson Fury. So, Boxing Scene in another article, it's obviously chunking this out over several days. It's the quiet period of the year right now. Wilder is quoted as saying, "I'm the guy that hits the hardest in the division, period. I bring an aggressive style, excitement, and devastating knockouts. All my knockout victims have felt it. Even Fury told them after a fight that my power is real. I come to dominate and knock you out, and I won't leave the ring until I knock you out." I don't know how confident Fury is after watching himself get knocked out. You see Fury on the canvas here. And believe me, he was knocked out. He's probably 50-50 on it. 50% of him wants the rematch, and 50% of him is thinking about that knockout and don't want the fight. You've got to be thinking about that knockout, knowing what can happen again. That's got to leave something lingering in the back of his mind that this can happen again. But if he's a true warrior and the true Gypsy King that he claims he is, then all of that doubt will go out of the window. He'll want to prove that no matter what, he was right and that he won that fight, and he'll fight me again. As for myself, I'm a warrior. If people say it's a draw, one side being for him, one side being for me, then let's run it back again. We can't leave people indecisive about what went on, what they feel was a controversial ending. Let's give them a clear view and run it back again. And I'll guarantee you, I'll come out on top like I did the first time. Further down the story here, no one has done what I've done in 2018, fighting killer after killer in Luis Ortiz and Tyson Fury. I'm coming back in 2019, already trying to do a rematch. That says a lot about me and my character, about me being the king of the heavyweight division. I know I'm the best, and I try to show that to people. If you doubt me, I'm going to continue showing you, always ending my fights in devastating knockouts. Breazeale is definitely not going to be next. With all the excitement from the Fury fight, we can't leave it as a draw. There's no such thing, and as a draw in my vocabulary, only a winner and a loser. The only way me and Brazil fight if Tyson Fury wants to be a coward and don't want the second fight with me. If that happens, then of course we'll fight Brazil. But as long as Fury is down for it, then you know I'm down for it, and the Fury fight's going to be on. So for now, I'm looking forward to the rematch. Deontay Wilder's statements. So Deontay Wilder. So there's just so much to unpack here. There's the Tyson Fury angle. There's the Deontay Wilder stuff in terms of all his eggs are in the rematch basket. Where did you hear any mention of, fighting Anthony Joshua there? You didn't. It's simply not an option. And towards the end there, he said, if it's not Fury, then of course we'll fight Brazil. So that is the backup option for Deontay Wilder. He is obviously not interested in a fight with Anthony Joshua. And certainly there was a lot of rhetoric in the comment section to my previous video saying, well, why isn't he fighting Anthony Joshua? Why is there no talk of fighting Anthony Joshua? And, well, there's just not. Deontay Wilder has his eggs in the rematch basket. That is the only fight he wants. And I said recently that I thought he's maybe overplayed his hand here a bit. He is only talking rematch. That is the be-all and end-all, but yet still talking that he's the best heavyweight, that, he's showing people he's the best heavyweight, but he doesn't want to fight for the undisputed, crown. Certainly the whole one face, one name, you can't really talk about that, kings chasing kings, if he's not going to be looking towards that fight. Maybe it's a negotiating tactic as well. I mean, who knows? But apparently from what Barry Hearn is saying, and I said I really wasn't going to comment too much on the Wilder-Joshua situation until there was something to say. So I deem this to be something to say, that we would desperately love to fight Deontay Wilder in Wembley on April 13th, he told Love Sport Radio's The Brian Moore Show. We have offered them successfully more and more, not just guaranteed money, but percentage money. It will generate many more times than he has ever earned in his life, and there's certainly levels beyond which we won't go because AJ is the A-side. Unfortunately, I have to report that so far, 3-4 emails, dozens of phone calls, we haven't had one response from Deontay Wilder's team. So sooner or later, you take the hint that maybe they just don't want us that bad. But then they're also, I guess, planning a Tyson Fury rematch. So there's certainly some things to unpack from that as well, but we'll stay on point here with Deontay Wilder. So, and of course he's going to play this card that Tyson Fury is a coward if he doesn't take the rematch. Fury had indicated he was training for Wilder for a rematch. There was that clip that came out running in the background here, whatnot, in the gym saying, I'm dreaming of you, Deontay Wilder, for the rematch. WBC is on board, will allow the rematch, will sanction an immediate rematch. But then Tyson Fury and his coach, Ben Davison, sort of said, well, actually, maybe we just let Deontay Wilder fight someone else. Maybe we fight the winner of Joshua Wilder. And to me, I think some of that is posturing. I think that some of that could be, negotiation tactics, because after all, Tyson Fury, after not getting the decision in America, after many people believe that he won that fight, I think he will want to have that on his home soil in the UK. He want to run that back in the UK, whereas Deontay Wilder, more likely because he's still the champion, still got his belt, he didn't lose his belt in America, he probably wants the rematch in America, and that makes sense as well. But ultimately what will dictate where it is what makes the most money for all involved, because that is central to negotiations. You just can't get away from that fact. But certainly some of what Fury and his wider camp, Davison, all that sort of stuff that they've been saying publicly, he will want to have some negotiating power, try get the fight to the UK, try get a better cut, because Deontay Wilder apparently had a slightly bigger cut, at least in terms of guaranteed purses and such. So we'll have to see what goes on there. But Deontay Wilder, he's certainly in the Tyson Fury rematch basket. And that's it. Dominic Brazil, according to him, is, that's not a fight that he wants, but he will take it if a Fury fight, if Fury ends up being a coward. So that's what Deontay Wilder is saying. That's why he's played the coward card. And it could come down, like a house of cards for Deontay Wilder if Tyson Fury really wants to turn the screws here in negotiations. For me, I still think it is the most likely option, a Wilder and Fury rematch. And Wilder is just, got his focus solely on that, not even talking about Anthony Joshua one iota, one jot. He is saying here, no one has done what I've done in 2018, fighting killer after killer in Luis Ortiz and Tyson Fury. So certainly depending on who you support is going to, determine how much stock you put into this. Because if you're a Wilder fan, you'll say that he fought the boogeyman in Ortiz and the lineal champion. But if you were a Joshua fan or someone who was maybe a bit more skeptical, you might say this guy was close to 50 allegedly with a heart problem. And Tyson Fury coming back from 2.5 years off the couch, he wasn't ready, and Deontay Wilder tried to get him at the wrong time. So, depending on who you support and where your allegiances lie will certainly dictate how much stock you put into Wilder's claim that he fought killer after killer, or that no one else did what he did. Because certainly Anthony Joshua fans would argue a unification with Joseph Parker and fighting a contender very similar to Ortiz, maybe even more decorated Alexander Povetkin, in terms of opponents that he's faced in his career, long-reigning perennial contender, that was a pretty good year for Anthony Joshua as well. Certainly others in the division, Dillian Whyte, he had a pretty tough year, and there's a few other guys as well. So he's saying he wants to come back in 2019, do it all again. But obviously, if he feels that this is slipping away, he's going to lash out more and more at Tyson Fury. And we'll have to see, Wilder's an emotional character, so we'll have to see where this goes. But some of it as well could also be part of the pantomime, the pre-build-up to the rematch. Some of it could be to put a bit more sting into the rematch in terms of a bit of a war of words before things really get settled. And I fully believe they're going to wait until Anthony Joshua announces that fight with whoever he's going to fight, and that looks likely to be Dillian Whyte. Tyson Fury, he may well be negotiating with all comers. Deontay Wilder's team, even though Wilder is saying these things publicly, his team may be saying something in private to Anthony Joshua's team. We just don't know. Remember, Barry Hearn is not the bastion of truth. We just don't know what he's emitting here in terms of conversations. Because remember, Shelley Finkel with the Eddie Hearn situation last year was coming out with contrary views and statements saying, well, actually, this happened and I can provide proof. So we can't believe everyone involved here because they have their vested interest. We have to remember that. They've all got their finger in the pie and they all want their cut of that same pie. I still think the most likely option is Fury-Wilder rematch and Anthony Joshua goes off and fights someone else. But Deontay Wilder clearly is showing no interest from what Barry Hearn is saying and wanting to unify or become undisputed with Anthony Joshua. And it's kind of, that's been a bit of a status quo for some time, but this has been the fullest update that we've had some time on how negotiations are going, or otherwise in this case. And to me, what Barry Hearn is saying there, he's signalling that they are going to move on. They're not going to wait for much longer. Anthony Joshua will be entering training camp very shortly. He indicated a couple of months ago for an April fight, he'd be entering camp in mid-January. So that means they're probably going to be announcing the fight mid-January at the latest. So you have to imagine they're going to have to pull the trigger on whoever Joshua is fighting next very shortly. And that guy, from what Deontay Wilder is saying, is just not going to be him. He's not even talking about Anthony Joshua, but he's saying that, he's trying to show people he's the king of the heavyweight division. I'm the best and I try to show people that. A section of fans coming through loud and clear in my previous video talked about Deontay Wilder. He needs to fight Joshua and that is the fight he needs to be talking about, and people seemingly a bit outraged about Wilder potentially facing Brazil. And it certainly is a less than optimal option for most boxing fans who either want Fury or Joshua. I don't mind either fight. There were some people saying that I need to be campaigning for Joshua and Wilder to fight. It's not my job to make fights. I mean, I was talking about this for several months last year. It became so tiresome, I didn't even want to talk about it anymore. And if you look at the situation now, how likely is it? Unlikely. From what Barry Hearn is saying, they're having no luck there, and Deontay Wilder's not even talking about Anthony Joshua. All he's talking about is Tyson Fury, saying he's a coward if he doesn't take the rematch, and that then, of course, will fight Brazil. So that certainly seems to be where he's going next, regardless of what Anthony Joshua is doing. But anyway, a bit of a all over the place here sort of update, went back and forth across a number of things, but what do you make of it all? Is Tyson Fury a coward if he doesn't take the rematch with Deontay Wilder? Wilder seemingly has his eggs in but one basket. Has he overplayed his hand here? Why isn't he talking about Anthony Joshua? Should he be fighting Anthony Joshua? Forget the rematch. Will you think less of him if he doesn't face Fury or Joshua and fights Brazil, who he says he doesn't want to fight, but he will fight him if he has to? drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.